Marcus wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag as he watched the last customer drive away from his small auto repair shop. The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It had been another long day, but he couldn't complain. Business was steady, and that meant he could keep food on the table for his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. The bell above his shop door jingled as Emma burst through, her backpack bouncing against her small frame. Her face was flushed from running and her brown curls were escaping from her ponytail. "Dad, Mrs. Henderson says I did great on my math test today. She wants to talk to you about putting me in advanced classes next year," Emma announced, her eyes bright with excitement. Marcus felt his chest swell with pride. Despite all the challenges they faced as a single-parent family, Emma continued to excel in school. He had been raising her alone since her mother passed away from cancer 3 years ago. Some days were harder than others, but moments like these reminded him that they were doing okay. "That's fantastic, sweetheart. We'll definitely talk to Mrs. Henderson about those advanced classes," Marcus said, ruffling her hair. "Now go wash up while I finish closing the shop. We'll order pizza tonight to celebrate your good grade." Emma cheered and ran toward the small apartment above the shop that served as their home. Marcus had inherited the building from his father, who had also been a mechanic. It wasn't much, but it was theirs, and it provided both their livelihood and shelter under one roof. As Marcus began turning off the lights and locking up his tools, he heard a car pull into his parking lot. He glanced at his watch. It was past 7 o'clock, well after his usual closing time. Through the window, he could see a sleek black sedan with steam rising from under the hood. The driver's door opened, and a teenage girl stepped out. Even from a distance, Marcus could tell she was upset. She was probably around 16 or 17, wearing expensive clothes that looked out of place in his working-class neighborhood. She stood by the car for a moment, looking around helplessly, before her shoulders began to shake. Marcus had always been the type of person who couldn't walk away from someone in need. It was something his late wife Sarah had both loved and worried about. She used to joke that he would give the shirt off his back to a stranger, even if it meant he'd catch cold. He opened his shop door and called out, "Hey there, you having car trouble?" The girl looked up and Marcus could see tears streaming down her face. She wiped them quickly with the back of her hand, trying to compose herself. "I'm sorry to bother you so late," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "I was driving home from my friend's house and then the car just started making this horrible noise and steam started coming out. I don't know anything about cars and I don't know who else to call." Marcus walked over to where she stood. Up close, he could see that she was even younger than he had initially thought. Maybe 15 at most. Everything about her, from her designer handbag to her perfectly styled hair, suggested she came from money, but right now she just looked like a scared kid. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Marcus asked gently. "Sophia," she replied, sniffling. "Sophia Chen." "Well, Sophia, I'm Marcus. Why don't you pop the hood and let me take a look? I bet it's nothing too serious." Sophia fumbled around the car's interior, clearly unfamiliar with basic car functions. Marcus reached through the open driver's side window and pulled the hood, release for her. When he lifted the hood, he immediately saw the problem. A burst radiator hose was spraying coolant everywhere. "Good news is it's fixable," Marcus said. "Bad news is I don't have the right hose in stock for a car this fancy and it's too late to get parts today. You're not driving this anywhere tonight." Sophia's face crumpled. "But I have to get home. My mom doesn't even know where I am. She thinks I'm still at Jessica's house doing homework. If she finds out I took the car without permission..." She trailed off, fresh tears starting to fall. Marcus felt a familiar tug at his heartstrings. This girl was clearly in over her head, and despite her expensive clothes and fancy car, she reminded him of Emma, young, scared, and in need of help. "Hey now, don't cry," Marcus said softly. "We'll figure this out. Do you have your mom's phone number? I can call her and explain what happened." "No," Sophia said quickly. "I mean, she's probably busy with work stuff. She's always busy with work stuff. I don't want to bother her." Marcus studied the girl's face. There was something she wasn't telling him, but he didn't want to pry. Instead, He made a decision that Sarah would have both supported and gently scolded him for. Listen, I've got a daughter about your age upstairs. Why don't you come up and have some pizza with us while we figure out what to do? You can call your mom from there and I'll fix your car first thing in the morning. The hose will cost about $40 plus labor. Sophia looked uncertain. I couldn't impose like that, and I can pay more than $40. This car cost more than most people make in a year. I don't charge based on what people can afford, Marcus said firmly. I charge based on what the work is worth. $40 for the part, $60 for labor. That's my rate for everyone. Something in Marcus's tone seemed to reassure Sophia. She nodded slowly. Okay, thank you. I really don't know what I would have done if you hadn't helped me. As they walked toward the stairs leading to the apartment, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Sophia's story than a simple case of teenage rebellion. But for now, he was just focused on making sure she was safe and getting her home to her family. Little did he know that this simple act of kindness would change both their lives in ways he never could have imagined. Emma was setting the table when Marcus and Sophia entered the small apartment. The space was modest but clean and welcoming, with family photos scattered on the mantel and Emma's artwork covering the refrigerator. The smell of pizza filled the air, and warm light from table lamps created a cozy atmosphere that was a stark contrast to the industrial setting of the shop below. Emma, this is Sophia. Her car broke down, so she's going to join us for dinner while we figure out how to get her home safely, Marcus explained. Emma looked up at the older girl with curiosity rather than suspicion. Despite being only 8, she had inherited her father's warm nature and ability to make people feel welcome. Hi, Sophia. Dad ordered pizza with extra cheese, which is my favorite. Do you like extra cheese? Emma asked cheerfully. Sophia managed a small smile, the first one Marcus had seen from her since she'd arrived. I do like extra cheese. Thank you for sharing your dinner with me. As they sat around the small kitchen table, Marcus noticed how Sophia seemed to relax slightly. She asked Emma about school and listened intently as the younger girl chattered about her advanced math classes and her best friend Katie. It was clear that despite coming from what appeared to be a wealthy background, Sophia was genuinely interested in Emma's simple everyday life. So Sophia, tell me about yourself. What grade are you in? Marcus asked, trying to learn more about their unexpected guest. I'm a sophomore at Westfield Academy, Sophia replied, mentioning the prestigious private school across town. I'm 15, but I'll be 16 next month. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Westfield Academy was known for catering to the children of the city's elite, business executives, politicians, and celebrities. The tuition alone was probably more than what Marcus made in several months. That's quite a drive from here to Westfield. What brought you to this side of town? He asked gently. Sophia's expression grew uncomfortable. I was visiting a friend, Jessica Martinez. Her dad works construction, so they live over in the Riverside neighborhood. My mom doesn't really approve of Jessica because she's not from our usual social circle, but Jessica's the only real friend I have at school. The sadness in Sophia's voice was unmistakable. Marcus was beginning to understand that despite her privileged background, this girl was dealing with her own set of problems. Real friends are hard to find, Marcus said thoughtfully. Sounds like Jessica is lucky to have you and you're lucky to have her. Sophia nodded, but her expression remained troubled. The thing is, I took my mom's car without asking because mine is in the shop. She specifically told me not to go to Jessica's house today because she had some important business dinner planned, and she wanted me to be home in case she needed me to make an appearance. An appearance? Marcus asked, confused. My mom is Catherine Chen. She owns Chen Industries, Sophia explained, as if this should mean something significant. Marcus's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Even he had heard of Chen Industries. It was one of the largest technology companies in the state, with offices in several major cities. He had seen Catherine Chen's picture in the business section of the newspaper more than once. She was known for being brilliant, ruthless in business, and extremely private about her personal life. Your mom is Catherine Chen, Marcus repeated slowly. Yeah, and she's going to kill me when she finds out what I did. Not literally, but she'll probably ground me until I'm 30 and take away every privilege I have. Sophia said miserably. Emma, who had been listening quietly, suddenly piped up. My dad says that when people love you, they might get scared or angry when you make mistakes, but they forgive you because love is stronger than being mad. Sophia looked at Emma with surprise, as if this simple wisdom from an 8-year-old had never occurred to her before. Marcus felt a surge of pride in his daughter's insight, but he also felt increasingly concerned about Sophia's situation. Something about the way she talked about her mother suggested their relationship was complicated at best. Sophia, you really should call your mom, Marcus said gently. She's probably worried sick about you. She's probably still in her business, dinner. She never finishes those until really late, and she always turns her phone off during important meetings, Sophia replied. Besides, what would I tell her? That I deliberately disobeyed her, took her car without permission, and now I'm stranded at some stranger's house? You could tell her the truth, Emma suggested matter-of-factly. And we're not strangers anymore. We're friends who are helping you. Marcus smiled at his daughter's simple logic. Emma's right. And I'm happy to talk to your mom if that would help. I can explain what happened with the car and assure her that you're safe. Sophia considered this for a moment. Maybe in the morning? If I call her now, she'll insist on sending someone to pick me up immediately, and then she'll be furious that her business dinner was interrupted. If I wait until morning, at least the dinner will be over. Marcus wasn't entirely comfortable with this plan, but he could see that Sophia was genuinely afraid of her mother's reaction. He decided to trust his instincts about the girl. She seemed like a good kid who had made a poor decision, not someone who was habitually reckless or dishonest. All right, he said finally. But first thing in the morning, we call your mom. Deal? Deal, Sophia agreed, looking relieved. As they finished dinner, Marcus set up the couch in the living room for Sophia to sleep on. Emma insisted on lending her favorite stuffed animal, a worn teddy bear named Mr. Buttons, to help their guest feel more comfortable. Thank you both so much, Sophia said, as Marcus handed her a spare pillow and blanket. I know this is really weird staying with people I just met, but you've been kinder to me tonight than most people I know. That's what neighbors do for each other, Marcus replied. And tomorrow we'll get your car fixed and get you home safely. As Marcus tucked Emma into bed later that night, his daughter looked up at him with serious eyes. Dad, I think Sophia is really sad about something. Not just about the car, but something bigger, Emma observed. Marcus was continually amazed by his daughter's emotional intelligence. What makes you think that, sweetheart? She got really quiet when she talked about her mom, and she seemed surprised when I said love is stronger than being mad. Like maybe nobody ever told her that before, Emma explained. Marcus kissed Emma's forehead. You're very perceptive, Em. Sometimes people who have a lot of money and fancy things don't have the same kind of love and warmth in their families that we do. Well, I hope we can help her feel better, Emma said sleepily. As Marcus turned off the lights and headed to his own room, he found himself hoping the same thing. He had no idea that by morning, helping Sophia feel better would become the least of his concerns. Marcus woke up early, as he always did, to the sound of his alarm clock at 6 a.m. He could hear movement in the kitchen and smiled, assuming Emma was up early, probably excited to continue getting to know their houseguest. But when he walked into the kitchen, he found Sophia already dressed and quietly making coffee. Good morning, she said softly, looking a bit embarrassed. I hope you don't mind that I used your coffee maker. I'm an early riser and I didn't want to wake anyone up. No problem at all, Marcus replied, impressed by her thoughtfulness. Sleep okay on the couch? Better than I have in weeks, actually, Sophia admitted. Your home is very peaceful. Marcus poured himself a cup of the coffee she had made and was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. This is excellent coffee. Where did you learn to make it like this? My mom drinks a lot of coffee for her business meetings, so I learned how to make it the way she likes it. I usually make her first cup every morning before she goes to work, Sophia explained. There was something wistful in her voice that made Marcus realize this simple act of making coffee was probably one of the few ways Sophia could show care for her mother in their busy household. Emma appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas with her hair sticking up in all directions. "Morning. Dad, morning, Sophia. Did you sleep good?" "I slept very well, thank you," Sophia replied with genuine warmth. "Your dad said we should call my mom this morning." Marcus glanced at the clock on the microwave. It was still early, but if Catherine Chen was as busy as her daughter suggested, she probably started her days early too. "Why don't we get that radiator hose fixed first, then call your mom when the car is ready to go? That way we can give her good news along with an explanation of what happened," Marcus suggested. Sophia looked relieved by this plan. "That sounds perfect. Is there anything I can do to help with the repair?" Marcus was about to say no, but then he noticed the genuine interest in Sophia's eyes. Emma had always loved helping in the shop when she was younger, and he realized that Sophia might benefit from learning something practical. "Actually, yes. If you want to learn, I can show you how to replace a radiator hose. It's not too complicated, and it's useful knowledge to have," Marcus offered. Sophia's face lit up with excitement. "Really? I'd love that. I've never learned how to fix anything before." After a quick breakfast, Marcus and Sophia headed down to the shop while Emma got ready for school. Marcus had called his parts supplier early and arranged for the replacement. It was to be delivered within the hour. As they waited for the part to arrive, Marcus showed Sophia around his shop, explaining the different tools and their purposes. She asked thoughtful questions and seemed genuinely fascinated by the mechanics of how cars worked. "I can't believe I've been driving for months and never knew any of this stuff," Sophia said, as Marcus explained the cooling system. "At home, whenever anything breaks, we just call someone to fix it or replace it entirely. There's nothing wrong with that approach, but there's something satisfying about understanding how things work and being able to fix problems yourself," Marcus replied. When the parts delivery arrived, Marcus walked Sophia through the process of replacing the radiator hose step by step. She was a quick learner and wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, despite her expensive clothes. "There," Marcus said as they finished the repair and refilled the cooling system. "Good as new. Want to do the honors of starting her up?" Sophia slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine started smoothly with no signs of the previous night's overheating problem. "I can't believe I actually helped fix it," Sophia exclaimed, beaming with pride. "Wait until I tell Jessica about this." Marcus felt a warmth in his chest that he recognized as the same feeling he got when Emma mastered something new. There was something special about watching a young person discover their own capabilities. "Now for the phone call," Marcus said gently. Sophia's expression grew serious again. She pulled out an expensive smartphone and stared at it for a moment before dialing. "Mom?" "It's Sophia," she said when the call connected. Marcus could hear a woman's voice on the other end, but couldn't make out the words. I know. I should have called last night, but I didn't want to interrupt your dinner meeting," Sophia continued. "Mom, I need to tell you something, and please don't get angry until you hear the whole story." The conversation continued for several minutes with Sophia explaining about taking the car, visiting Jessica, the breakdown, and Marcus's help. Marcus could hear Catherine Chen's voice getting progressively louder and more agitated. "Mom, please listen. The man who helped me, Mr. Marcus, he wants to talk to you," Sophia said, holding out the phone to Marcus with a pleading expression. Marcus took the phone, taking a deep breath before speaking. "Ms. Chen, this is Marcus Rodriguez. Your daughter is perfectly safe and your car is fixed and ready to go." The voice that came through the phone was crisp, professional, and barely controlled. "Mr. Rodriguez, I appreciate that you helped my daughter, but I'm having trouble understanding why she spent the night at a stranger's house instead of calling me immediately. Ma'am, I suggested she call you several times, but she was concerned about interrupting your business meeting. She seemed genuinely afraid of upsetting you," Marcus replied honestly. There was a pause on the other end of the line. When Catherine Chen spoke again, her voice was slightly softer. "Where exactly is your shop, Mr. Rodriguez?" Marcus gave her the address and basic directions from the upscale part of town where he assumed she lived. "I'll be there in 30 minutes, Catherine said firmly. "Please make sure Sophia stays put until I arrive." After the call ended, Sophia looked at Marcus anxiously. She's really angry, isn't she? She's worried, Marcus corrected. Sometimes worry comes out looking like anger, especially when parents feel like they've lost control of a situation. Sophia nodded, but she still looked nervous as they waited. Marcus kept her occupied by showing her more about the shop and letting her help him organize some tools. Exactly 30 minutes later, a sleek black Mercedes SUV pulled into the parking lot. The woman who stepped out was unmistakably Sophia's mother. They had the same facial structure and intelligent eyes, though Catherine Chen carried herself with an authority and confidence that spoke of years in boardrooms and high-stakes negotiations. Catherine Chen was dressed in an impeccably tailored business suit, her black hair pulled back in a perfect bun. Even at 9 in the morning, she looked like she was ready for a magazine photo shoot or an important presentation. She walked toward the shop with determined strides, her heels clicking on the concrete. Marcus could see where Sophia got her intelligence, but he wondered if the girl had inherited any of her mother's warmth, assuming Catherine Chen had any to give. "Mr. Rodriguez?" Catherine asked as she approached. "That's me," Marcus replied, wiping his hands on a shop rag and extending one for a handshake. Catherine shook his hand briefly, her grip firm and businesslike. Then her eyes found Sophia, who was standing near the workbench looking like she wanted to disappear. "Sophia Chen, we're going to have a very long talk when we get home," Catherine said, her voice carrying the kind of authority that probably made corporate executives tremble. But as Marcus watched the interaction between mother and daughter, he noticed something that Sophia seemed to miss entirely. Beneath Catherine's stern expression was unmistakable relief. This was a mother who had been terrified about her daughter's safety, not just angry about disobedience. Catherine Chen's eyes swept over Marcus's shop, taking in the organized tools, the clean workspace, and the obvious pride Marcus took in his business. Her expression remained unreadable as she processed the environment where her daughter had spent the night. "Mr. Rodriguez, I need to understand exactly what happened here," Catherine said, her tone professional but not unkind. "Sophia has given me her version, but I'd like to hear yours." Marcus nodded, understanding her need for clarity. "Your daughter's car overheated due to a burst radiator hose around 7 last night. She was upset and didn't know what to do. I offered to fix the car, but I needed to wait until this morning to get parts. When she seemed reluctant to call you, I invited her to have dinner with my daughter and me, and offered her a safe place to stay for the night." "And you didn't think to insist that she call me immediately?" Catherine asked, though her tone was more curious than accusatory. "I did suggest it several times," Marcus replied honestly. "But she was genuinely afraid of interrupting your business, meeting and making you angry. As a parent myself, I understood her fear of disappointing you." Catherine glanced at Sophia, who was staring at the floor. For a moment, something flickered across the businesswoman's face, a hint of sadness or perhaps regret. "Sophia, go wait in the car," Catherine instructed. "Mr. Rodriguez and I need to talk privately." Sophia looked like she wanted to protest, but something in her mother's expression made her think better of it. She walked toward the Mercedes, glancing back nervously at Marcus and her mother. Once Sophia was out of earshot, Catherine's professional demeanor softened slightly. "Mr. Rodriguez, I owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude. When I woke up this morning and found Sophia gone along with my car..." She paused, and Marcus could see the fear she had experienced written clearly on her face. "I can only imagine how worried you must have been," Marcus said gently. "I spent 3 hours driving around the city looking for her before she called. I was terrified that something had happened to her," Catherine admitted. "The fact that you took her in, fed her, and kept her safe when she had nowhere else to turn. I don't know how to thank you." Marcus was surprised by this display of vulnerability from a woman who was known for her iron-willed business persona. "You don't need to thank me. Any parent would have done the same thing." Catherine shook her head. "No, Mr. Rodriguez. Not everyone would have. Most people would have called the police or social services. You opened your home to a stranger's child and treated her like family." She paused, studying Marcus's face. "Sophia told me about your daughter Emma and how welcome you both made her feel. She said it was the most relaxed she's felt in months." This comment seemed to trouble Catherine. and Marcus sensed there was more going on in the Chen household than just typical teenage rebellion. "Ms. Chen, if you don't mind me asking, why was Sophia so afraid to call you? She's clearly a good kid." "Who just made a mistake?" Marcus asked carefully. Catherine was quiet for a long moment, and Marcus wondered if he had overstepped. But then she spoke, her voice quieter than before. "I'm not sure I'm a very good mother, Mr. Rodriguez. I've built a successful company, but I sometimes think I've failed at building a successful relationship with my daughter." She gestured toward the Mercedes where Sophia was waiting. "She's 15 years old, and most of our conversations are about her grades, her schedule, or logistics. When was the last time we just talked about her day or her feelings?" Marcus felt a pang of sympathy for both mother and daughter. "Being a single parent is incredibly difficult. I struggle with balancing work and Emma's needs every day." "You're a single father?" Catherine asked with interest. "My wife passed away 3 years ago. It's just been Emma and me since then," Marcus explained. Catherine's expression grew even softer. "I'm so sorry for your loss. Sophia's father left when she was 7. He decided that having a family was too much responsibility and moved across the country. I've been raising her alone ever since." Marcus nodded, understanding the challenges she faced. "It's not easy doing it alone, but Sophia seems like a remarkable young woman. She was polite, helpful, and wonderful with Emma. You should be proud of the job you've done raising her. She spent an hour this morning telling me about your daughter Emma and how smart and kind she is. She also told me that you taught her how to fix the radiator hose herself," Catherine said with a small smile. She was so proud of learning something practical with her own hands. "I can't remember the last time I saw her that excited about anything." Marcus glanced toward the car where Sophia was waiting. "She's a quick learner and wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty. That says a lot about her character." Catherine followed his gaze. "Mr. Rodriguez, I have a confession to make. When Sophia first told me she had stayed with a mechanic and his daughter, I made some assumptions. I was prepared to come here and, well, to be quite demanding and perhaps unpleasant. And now?" Marcus asked. "Now I'm embarrassed by my initial reaction. You've shown more genuine care for my daughter's well-being in one night than most of the people in our social circle have shown in years," Catherine admitted. "The families we spend time with are more interested in business connections and social status than actual friendship or support." Marcus began to understand why Sophia had seemed so lonely despite her privileged background. "That must be isolating for both of you." "More than I realized until this morning," Catherine agreed. "Sophia mentioned that your daughter Emma said something about love being stronger than anger. When I asked her to explain, she said that Emma told her that when people love you, they might get scared or mad when you make mistakes, but they forgive you because love is more important." Marcus smiled, remembering Emma's wise words from the night before. "She's got an old soul, that one." "The thing is, Mr. Rodriguez, I don't think Sophia believes that I love her more than I love my work or my success," Catherine said quietly, "and I'm afraid she might be right." This admission seemed to cost Catherine a great deal, and Marcus could see the pain in her eyes. He thought about how different his and Emma's life was from what Sophia experienced. Less money and fewer opportunities, perhaps, but filled with warmth, communication, and unconditional love. "It's never too late to change the dynamic between you and your daughter," Marcus offered gently. "She clearly loves you and wants your approval. Maybe she just needs to see that your love for her isn't conditional on her perfect behavior or achievements." Catherine nodded thoughtfully. "You're probably right, I just don't know where to start." Marcus glanced at his watch and realized he needed to get Emma to school soon. "Ms. Chen, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what do you have planned for today?" "The usual. Back-to-back meetings, conference calls, a working lunch," Catherine replied automatically. "What if you did something different instead?" "What if you spent the day with Sophia?" Marcus suggested. Catherine looked startled by the suggestion. "I couldn't possibly cancel my meetings." "With respect, ma'am, you're the CEO of your own company. I'm pretty sure you can reschedule one day's worth of meetings if you want to," Marcus pointed out with a gentle smile. Catherine stared at him for a moment, then glanced toward her daughter waiting in the car. For the first time since she'd arrived, she looked uncertain rather than in complete control. Catherine Chen stood in Marcus's shop, staring at her phone as if it were a foreign object. She had built her entire adult life around schedules, meetings, and the constant demands of running a multi-million-dollar company. The idea of spontaneously canceling an entire day's worth of commitments felt almost impossible. "I haven't taken a day off in over 2 years," she said quietly, more to herself than to Marcus. "Then you're probably overdue," Marcus replied with understanding. "Some of the most important conversations I've had with Emma happened when we least planned them." Catherine looked toward the Mercedes where Sophia was waiting, probably expecting to be driven home for a lecture about responsibility and consequences. Instead, Catherine pulled out her phone and began making calls. Marcus watched with interest as the powerful CEO transformed before his eyes. Her first call was to her assistant, asking her to reschedule all meetings for the day due to a family emergency. The second was to her company's president, delegating decision-making authority for anything that couldn't wait until tomorrow. "There," Catherine said after finishing her calls. "I've cleared my schedule. Now I just need to figure out what mothers and daughters do together when they're not discussing grades or curfews." Marcus smiled. "Why don't you ask Sophia what she'd like to do? I bet she'll have some ideas." As Catherine walked toward her car, Marcus began calculating the bill for the repair work. The parts and labor came to exactly $100, just as he had quoted Sophia the night before. He wrote up the invoice on his standard form, the same one he used for every customer regardless of their financial situation. Catherine returned a few minutes later with Sophia, whose expression had shifted from nervous resignation to confused hope. "Sophia told me she'd like to spend the day together, maybe go shopping and have lunch," Catherine said. "She also mentioned that you taught her about car repair this morning, and she'd like to learn more practical skills like that." Marcus handed Catherine the invoice. "Here's the bill for the repair work." Catherine glanced at the paper and looked up at Marcus with surprise. $100? That's all? "That's what I quoted your daughter, and that's my standard rate," Marcus replied. Catherine opened her purse and pulled out her checkbook. "Mr. Rodriguez, this seems inadequate given everything you've done for us." "Ma'am, with respect, I charge for auto repair, not for basic human kindness," Marcus said firmly. $100 is fair payment for the work performed." Catherine wrote out a check, but Marcus noticed she was writing for significantly more than $100. When she handed it to him, he saw that she had made it out for $10,000. "Ms. Chen, I can't accept this," Marcus said immediately. "I told you I charge based on the work, not on what people can afford to pay. Consider it a donation to your shop then, or an investment in good karma," Catherine replied with a slight smile. "Surely you have equipment you need to repair or replace." Marcus looked at the check again. $10,000 would allow him to fix the hydraulic lift that had been broken for 6 months, replace his aging diagnostic computer, and maybe even set aside some money for Emma's college fund. "This is incredibly generous, but I don't feel right taking this much money," Marcus protested. "Mr. Rodriguez, you gave my daughter something last night that money can't buy: safety, kindness, and a sense of what a loving family looks like," Catherine said seriously. "This amount of money is insignificant to me, but I suspect it could make a real difference for you and Emma." Sophia had been listening to this exchange with growing amazement. "Mom, you're really giving him $10,000? "It's the least I can do," Catherine replied. Marcus found himself genuinely moved by the gesture, even as he struggled with accepting such an enormous amount. Thank you. This is incredibly kind. There is one condition," Catherine added. "I'd like to bring Sophia by occasionally to continue learning about car repair. She seems genuinely interested, and I think it would be good for her to learn practical skills from someone who clearly enjoys teaching." Marcus looked at Sophia, who was nodding enthusiastically. "I'd be happy to teach her. Emma would love having an older sister figure around." "Actually," Catherine said, seeming to make another spontaneous decision, "would it be possible for Emma to join us today? Sophia mentioned how much she enjoyed talking with her last night, And I'd love to meet the young lady who shared such wisdom about love and forgiveness. Marcus checked his watch. She needs to get to school, but I suppose one day wouldn't hurt. Let me call her teacher and explain that it's a family day. 20 minutes later, Emma bounded out of the apartment upstairs, dressed in her favorite jeans and t-shirt, her face bright with excitement about the unexpected adventure. "Emma, this is Ms. Chen, Sophia's mom," Marcus said, making introductions. Catherine knelt down to Emma's eye level, something that surprised both Marcus and Sophia. "Hello, Emma. Sophia told me you were very kind to her last night and that you're very smart." Emma beamed. "Sophia's really nice too. She helped me with my math. Homework this morning before you came?" "She did? Well, that was very thoughtful of her," Catherine said, glancing at her daughter with what might have been the beginning of a new kind of pride. As the group prepared to leave together, Marcus pulled Catherine aside briefly. "Ms. Chen, thank you again for your generosity. But more importantly, I think what you're doing today, spending time with Sophia, that's worth more than any amount of money." Catherine nodded, looking both nervous and determined. "I'm not sure I know how to do this, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm much better in boardrooms than I am at just being a mom." "Just be yourself and pay attention to what she's interested in," Marcus advised. "And maybe ask her opinion about things instead of just giving instructions." As Catherine and Sophia drove away with Emma as their enthusiastic guide to local attractions, Marcus deposited the check and marveled at how dramatically his life had changed in less than 24 hours. He spent the rest of the day thinking about the conversation with Catherine Chen and the clear love between mother and daughter that both of them seemed to have trouble expressing. By evening, he found himself genuinely curious about how their day together had gone. His answer came around 6 o'clock when his phone rang. "Mr. Rodriguez, this is Catherine Chen. I wanted to thank you for encouraging me to spend the day with Sophia." Catherine's voice was different than it had been that morning. Warmer, more relaxed. "How did it go?" Marcus asked. "Better than I could have hoped. We went shopping, but instead of me picking out clothes I thought she should wear, I let her show me styles she actually likes. We had lunch at a little cafe she's been wanting to try, and we talked about her friends, her classes, even her dreams for the future," Catherine said, and Marcus could hear the smile in her voice. "That sounds wonderful. Emma was fantastic, by the way. She has such a mature perspective for an 8-year-old. Sophia absolutely adores her, and I can see why." "You should be very proud," Catherine continued. "I am. She's pretty special," Marcus agreed. "Mr. Rodriguez, I have a confession. Today was the first time in years that I've had a real conversation with my daughter about something other than her responsibilities or my expectations. And it was the first time I've seen her truly relaxed and happy in longer than I care to admit." Marcus felt a warmth in his chest, knowing that his simple act of kindness had led to this breakthrough between mother and daughter. "There's something else," Catherine continued. "Sophia asked if we could have dinner together tonight, just the two of us. No phones, no work calls, no distractions. I can't remember the last time she specifically asked to spend time with me." "That's a big step forward," Marcus said encouragingly. "It is. And Mr. Rodriguez, I want you to know that you've given our family something precious, a chance to remember what really matters. I hope we can continue to be friends." As Marcus hung up the phone, he realized that what had started as a simple act of helping a stranded teenager had turned into something much more significant. Sometimes the smallest gestures of kindness could change the entire direction of people's lives. 3 months had passed since that evening when Sophia's car broke down outside Marcus's shop, and the changes in everyone's lives had been remarkable. What started as a chance encounter had evolved into something none of them could have predicted. Every Saturday morning, Catherine would drop Sophia off at the shop for what they had come to call practical lessons. Marcus taught her everything from basic car maintenance to simple electrical work, while Emma helped by organizing tools and asking endless questions that kept everyone entertained. Catherine had initially planned to simply drop Sophia off and return later, but she found herself staying longer each week, fascinated by watching her daughter learn skills that had nothing to do with academic achievement or social status. She began bringing coffee for everyone, and eventually started asking Marcus to teach her some basic repairs as well. I never thought I'd see the day when Catherine Chen would be lying under a car learning how to change oil, Sophia laughed one Saturday, as her mother struggled to loosen a drain plug. Your mother is surprisingly handy with tools once she gets over her fear of getting dirty, Marcus replied, watching Catherine work with determination and focus that probably served her well in the business world. The relationship between Catherine and Sophia had transformed dramatically. They still had their challenges. Catherine was still learning to balance her demanding career with being present as a mother, but their communication had improved beyond recognition. Catherine had started a new tradition of phone-free dinners, twice a week, where they would cook together and talk about everything from Sophia's friendships to Catherine's childhood memories. Sophia had begun opening up about her feelings of loneliness at school and her struggles with the pressure to be perfect. I used to think Mom cared more about her company than about me, Sophia confided to Marcus one afternoon while they worked on replacing brake pads. But now I realized she was working so hard partly because she wanted to provide for me. She just didn't know how to show me that I was important to her. Marcus smiled, remembering his conversation with Catherine that first morning. Sometimes people show love in the way they know how, even if it's not the way we need to receive it. Emma had become like a little sister to Sophia, and their friendship had enriched both their lives. Sophia helped Emma with her advanced math, homework, and took her to movies and shopping trips that Marcus couldn't afford on his mechanic's salary. In return, Emma's natural warmth and wisdom continued to amaze both Sophia and Catherine. Emma asked me last week if I thought you and my mom might like each other, Sophia mentioned casually while cleaning her hands with shop rags. Marcus nearly dropped the wrench he was holding. What did you tell her? I told her that would be complicated, Sophia replied with a grin that was far too knowing for a 15-year-old, but also that you make Mom laugh more than anyone else ever has. It was true that Catherine had begun staying later and later on Saturdays, often lingering well past when the lesson was finished. She and Marcus had developed an easy friendship, based on their shared experience as single parents and their mutual love for their daughters. Catherine had helped Marcus expand his business by referring some of her wealthy friends who needed automotive work. She had also quietly arranged for Emma to receive a scholarship to a prestigious summer science camp, claiming it was funded by her company's educational foundation. Marcus had helped Catherine learn to slow down and appreciate simple moments with Sophia. He had shown her that being present didn't require expensive activities or elaborate plans. Sometimes the most meaningful conversations happened while working on projects together or sharing casual meals. One Saturday in late spring, as they finished up a lesson on changing air filters, Catherine made an announcement that surprised everyone. I've been thinking, she said, wiping grease from her hands with a shop towel. Marcus, your lease on this building is up for renewal next month, right? Yes, and my landlord is raising the rent significantly. I'm not sure I'll be able to afford to stay here much longer, Marcus admitted. He had been worried about this for weeks but hadn't wanted to burden anyone else with his financial concerns. What if I told you I was interested in purchasing this building and offering you a long-term lease at your current rate? Catherine asked. Marcus stared at her. Catherine, I couldn't let you do that. It's too much. It's not charity, Marcus. It's an investment. This neighborhood is developing and this property will be valuable. Plus, I've grown rather fond of this place, Catherine said, looking around the shop with genuine affection. Mom, are you sure? Sophia asked, though she was clearly hoping her mother would say yes. I'm sure. Besides, someone needs to keep teaching you and Emma all these practical skills, and someone needs to keep teaching me how to change oil without getting it all over my clothes, Catherine said with a laugh. Emma, who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke up. Does this mean we're all going to keep being friends forever? I think it means we're becoming more than friends, sweetheart, Catherine replied, and Marcus felt his heart skip a beat at the implication in her words. As autumn arrived and Emma started third grade, Marcus realized that his small family had somehow grown to include two very special people. Catherine had learned to balance her work commitments with family time, and she had begun including Marcus and Emma in holiday plans and weekend activities. Sophia was thriving in her new relationship with her mother and had gained confidence. from learning practical skills and having a stable, supportive environment at the shop. She had even convinced some of her classmates to learn basic car maintenance, starting a small trend among her peers. One evening, as Marcus was closing up the shop, he found a note tucked under his workbench. It was from Sophia, written in her careful handwriting. "Dear Marcus, I wanted to thank you for everything you've done for me and my mom. That night when my car broke down was the scariest and best thing that ever happened to me. You didn't just fix my car, you helped fix my family. I hope you know that you and Emma aren't just friends to us. You're the family we didn't know we needed. Love, Sophia." Marcus read the note twice, feeling overwhelmed by gratitude for the unexpected journey that had brought them all together. What had started as a simple act of helping a stranded teenager had transformed into something much more beautiful. A chosen family built on kindness, understanding, and love. As he turned off the lights and headed upstairs to where Emma was probably reading before bed, Marcus reflected on how dramatically their lives had changed. Sometimes the most important moments in life came disguised as ordinary problems that needed solving. Sometimes helping someone else was really just another way of helping yourself find what you didn't even know you were looking for. The little bell above his shop door jingled softly in the evening breeze, as if celebrating the good fortune that had walked through it on a night that had seemed like nothing more than another broken-down car and another person in need of help.